Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. Today's video is a Black Library review. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at one of the many publications brought out by a Black Library and giving you our thoughts on the book, audio drama, whatever it happens to be. Now, I will say that we will try to keep this review to as spoiler free as possible, though there will obviously be points where we talk about things happening in the book. We will try to keep away from saying any of the major plot points, so you can go and read this book for yourself. We'll just give you our thoughts on whether or not we think it is something you may be interested in. So we'll use this video to instruct you on maybe is this sort of going to be a book that you would like to see. With that all said and out the way, let's get cracking on. Let's talk a little bit about the book that we have reviewed this time. In today's Black Library review, we're going to be checking out Briardark by C.L. Werner. Now, as always, I like to listen to the audio versions. I like to listen to them while I'm doing some hobby editing or indeed some other things around the house. But this one is narrated by Gabrielle Knowles-Payne. I can't say I've remembered the name of this narrator before, so they did a really good job. I quite enjoyed the story being narrated by them and thought they did an excellent job. With that all said though, let's get checking out this story. And so the story, this should be said, this is another story in the Murghast sort of somewhat series, I guess we could say, in that sort of space. Obviously the first one is already on the channel. We've got it in our horror series, you can remember. Now, Briardark, evil stirs in Briardark, an ancient forest that looms over the Shaishian village of Felstein, where whispers abound of the spectres and brutes that lurk amongst the trees. One man keeps these perils at bay, Samuel Helmgart, the revered beast hunter of Felstein. But when tragedy strikes his family, an unknowable foe is unleashed, one that stalks the villages and turns neighbour against neighbour. Soon a witch hunt ensues, and in the midst of his own sorrow, Samuel's daughter, Cicely, struggles with grief that is twisted into something very, very dark. To save her, the beast hunter must track down the entity in the forest and the evil that beckons his daughter from beyond a most hostile grave. And so the story's purpose. This story does take place, as I mentioned, after the events of Gothgul Hollow, and is another tale involving the mysterious Murghast. Though I'll say nothing more than that this is a Murghast story. We've obviously been told that, but this story, once again, I guess, aims to show us just how terrible and scary, if not frightening, life can be in the realm of Shaiish, doing all manner of things. I think listening to this, I definitely got a much more sort of dread sense listening and reading this, which may be part of the narration from the story, which was done really, really well and gave off. Or maybe listening to this at bedtime before bed was maybe not the best idea for a horror book, but who knows. This definitely, just tries to show how evil and despicable and, horrible that realm of death is, even in, the places where Sigmar's servants have taken refuge and built their cities. And so our main characters are Samuel and Cicely Helmgart. Samuel is probably our main lead. I think he sort of carries the story on a bit more, while Cicely is really the story, if that makes sense to anyone. It is Samuel that's sort of pushing the story forward with his actions and his intentions, while Cicely is the story we're sort of focusing on throughout the book. Now, the two characters, Samuel is, the beast hunter of them all. He's actually got one cool thing about him where he lost an arm at one point and now he's got this dwarven-made mechanical arm on his left. You can see pictured there. He's the dude with all the bones on him. It's pretty cool. And then Cicely is a really good, what would you call her? Crafter. She weaves. I don't know what you would call her. Seamstress. That's the word I'm looking for. She's a seamstress. And she makes, a bit of extra money for the family. That includes her mother and her brother over the course of the story. That's sort of like her part to add to the family. She's the older of the two children of both Samuel and his wife. So what does change about our main characters over the story? I don't want to say too much on this subject, mainly because this will definitely influence how you go reading the book and enjoying it across the time. But both characters, I think, do grow quite a bit. Now, like it says, they have their own grief that strikes their family, and it's really that overcoming of that grief or learning to deal with that grief. Not necessarily overcoming, is probably the wrong word. Definitely learning to bear that grief, learning to live with grief. It happens to all of us from time to time. I'm sure many of us over the course of time have had grief in our lives. And this book really, shows that sort of process of getting over that and taking through, the stages of grief, as many would call them. What does this book do well, though? And for me, I think more so than Gothic Hollow, I think this one really hit the horror sort of mark more. But maybe in a place that hits more closer to home. It is very family orientated. I have my own 2 young children. I have my wife. I like to think of myself as a very family orientated person. They are my everything in my life. And this is sort of, a very similar character to, I guess, Samuel on, his family are his everything. And maybe I felt like quite a strong connection with Samuel as a character being a father. You can, if you read this as a dad, this will hit close to home, I think. There's definitely some heartstrings that get pulled on it that I would feel, given the same situations, I'd probably feel exactly as Samuel does. Now, while horror is certainly the book's genre, it does fill you with sorrow. This is a really sad story. Not sad as in you're going to cry. You just feel almost depressed after reading this story, which I guess is part of the aim. That's what this story is trying to fill you with, is this sort of depressing sadness of the story. Not only that, but I think that Gabrielle has really adds a lot to the story as well in the narration of it. Not only has Werner put together a really nice story, but Gabrielle does a fantastic job at putting their own sort of life to the story and really adding that extra layer, which is why I enjoy listening to audiobooks a lot. And so, who would like this book? I think this one definitely hits, the horror mark right. While maybe the Gothic Hollow is horror in an adventure sense, is what I felt from that, this is definitely a lot darker, a lot grittier, a lot more sorrowful. There's a lot more, horror aspects, I think, to this story than, say, something than Gothic Hollow, which definitely had that adventure element to it, which I think, as much as I love, Gothic Hollow, I thought it was a really fantastic book. I think in terms of the horror aspect, this was the better story. And so, in summary, a really sad and quite evil story, mixed with solid storytelling on part of the author, C.L. Werner, and some excellent narration as well. I think really gives, that little bit extra to the story as well. For me, this is a solid 7 out of 10 book, I think. Probably, like I said, one of my favourite ones in, the Warhammer Horror series so far. I really, really enjoyed this. I look forward to the next Murghast story. I'm really excited getting, this bit of growing story about the Murghast. What it is, what it might be, who knows. If you've read this book, let us know what you thought down in the comments below about it. And so that is the end of the video. Thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and drop us a comment down below letting us know what you thought about the video. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our little community here, you can do so over on the Cinderful Gaming Discord server, which is linked down in the video's description. Also, if you'd like to help support the channel, you can do so either by joining Patreon or YouTube members, or grabbing some merch from our Teespring or Ko-fi stores, all of which are linked down in the video's description. Anyone who helps support the channel, we are greatly appreciative of. For our Patreon and YouTube members, we'd like to give you all a shout out for everyone who does support the channel. So thank you to our Patreon members: Christian Weir, Soren, Kenny Love, Outer and Shot First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising Ape, Q Dynamic, Anthony B, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domir, Mark Harvey, James Cater, Bloobs, Benjamin Suarez, Redman, and DeHaven, Kevin Bowman, Iron Grinch, and our YouTube members: Greenridge Gaming, Kenton Young, Ronya, Lockdoric, the Johnny84, David Ellsworth, Wolfric Nick, Broken Chef, Ariana Edwards, Revenar, Pink Nico Fire, Robin Mankiller, Monty's Tabletop Terrain, John Castle, Davis Weir, and James South. Lastly, a special shout out to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork you see on the channel. Thank you so much for all the work you put in on that end. With that said, everyone, don't forget to like and subscribe. Once again, stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.